We are back with another Loom video, and today we are on travelling around MMA gyms. I'm going to go through the pros and cons of each and why I personally did it myself. This background, this is Phuket Top Team in Thailand. I came, this particular time was 2019. I stayed here for 5 to 6 months. And I trained here twice, so I came here 6 months before that in 2018 as well. First off, why I travel and train. Now, there's a few reasons, but first off, as it says, it is to get me out my hometown. I find in my hometown, I am comfortable. And I don't find I can grow within comfort. I grow within uncomfortable situations. And the main reason is it'll get me away from my distractions. At home, I have my friends, I have my family, I have a lot of people that can distract me, or I could maybe find an excuse of not to do it. Some people may find there's a lot more distractions when you go abroad and travel. But I see it myself, the reason I do it is to disappear. I don't come away to travel, I don't come away to be a tourist, I come away to disappear and come back as an animal. Go away, do my work in silence, and then come back and let the results show of the hard work I have put in whilst being away. There's two options with travelling with MMA gyms. First one, the same country. Those points that I said before is a little bit different. They don't really apply to them ones. And the second point is, or the second option is a different country. This is what I tend to do quite a lot. Go to different countries and travel from there. They both have those pros and cons for each, but the main difference will be probably the money. If you're going to go to a different country, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But I like going away because it puts me in a situation or an environment that I'm there to grind out and get my work done to come back the animal that I want to become. Now let's go through it. The pros. The pros are why I like going to different gyms, and I'll say if this is in the same country or different country. But going through all of these, yes, all of these can be for both. They can be for going to a different gym in the same country you're in, or going to a country, or going to a gym that is abroad in a different country. So first off, different styles. By that, I mean you're going to be sparring people with different styles. This is going to help you as a fighter because, for example, you think the UFC, Stephen Wonderboy. You might not have ever sparred someone that's Steve Wonderboy, or there might not be anyone that is in your gym that'll spar like him. Now when you go abroad, or a different gym, there is a bigger chance you're going to spar people with different styles. And this is going to get you better because you're going to be more well-rounded in order to compete with them in a spar. As well as that, different rounds, same thing as the different styles. This is going to help you and make you become a better fighter. Different individuals, different people have different mindsets. They'll have different elements of the game they're better at and different elements of the game that they're worst at, and you've got to find that within each person you spar. And all these come under the unpredictability. All these come under that. In a fight, you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what shot they're going to throw. Yes, you might have seen tape before, but there's that element of not knowing what is coming next, and that is the same when you go to different gyms. Because if you spar the people in your gym every single week, most likely you know their best combinations, you know their style of fighting, and you know what they're probably going to avoid because you train with them day in, day out. And then what that does do is get you very good at that particular style. For example, you could spar someone that is a very Muay Thai based fighter. You could get very good at sparring those. But when it comes to fight night, maybe you're fighting a kickboxing style fighter, and then it throws you off a little bit. You don't really know what to do. But by going to different gyms, you get all these different styles, different rounds, different individuals. It gets you ready for that unpredictability, that you don't know what might happen in a fight. And that's why I think it's great. It's absolutely great to get you to different gyms, because that is what it does. You just get a wider range of opponents that you could potentially get in the future. And what that does is make you a well-rounded fighter. And I've said there, well-rounded and more prepared as a fighter. That is what you need to do for your career, is prepared for any fighter, not just a certain style, because styles make matchups. You want to be ready and prepared and well-rounded as much as you possibly can. Now, a very good thing that I found when I went abroad to different gyms is the confident boost. The confident boost when you spar people, when you know their record says they're a lot better than you. For example, I was an amateur at the time. I sparred UFC guys. Now, my first, I'd say, time sparring a UFC guy was when I was 18. 18 it was, and I remember it. I remember it to this day because it was I didn't think it was a big moment at the time. I didn't know he was even in the UFC, but I knew he was heavier than me. And it was probably the 6th round. And what I did do is put it on him. He was knackered, and I pushed the gas tank, pushed my energy, and he gave it to me, and I gave it back just as much. And everyone was cheering because everyone was tired, so they have the rounds off. And after, my coach came to me. You can see there, Eric Uresk, the one in the blue vest. He came and went, "Do you know who he is?" And I didn't have a clue. And he was like, "He fights in UFC, him?" And I'm there with, at the time, I think 3 amateur fights. 3 amateur fights, and I'm going toe-to-toe with a UFC fighter. The amount of confidence that gave me then was ridiculous. Ridiculous. And then you hold that going through all your next load of training for the next few months, your next load of fights, because you know you're being toe-to-toe with UFC guys. That is the pinnacle of the sport. And you've been able to stand your ground. Another example. I came in 2020, or maybe 2021. I think it was 2021 when I actually met him, but Rafa Fies, he was getting ready for Dos Anjos. And we trained for a session, we did a round, and he liked my style. We had a good sparring session. But after that, he signed the contract with Rafa Dos Anjos, and he came to me and he goes, "How long you stay, brother?" And I go, "About 5 more weeks." And he was like, "Good." I went, "I just signed contract, fight training now." He went, "I'll see you tomorrow." I was like, Came tomorrow, I knew business was on, and I sparred with him a few rounds before, but I knew he meant business now because he had the egg guard on. He had the full shabam and he was ready. We did 5 5s in the cage. I'd do that with him every session, and I'd get a minimum of 3 of those rounds with him. I'd probably go 1, 3 and 5, and he might go with someone else in between whilst I'm with a different partner. And I did very good. I was very impressed with my performance in that spar, and that gave me ridiculous, and I'm talking ridiculous confidence, that I could stand toe-to-toe with, I think he was probably ranked number 8 at the time. He beat Dos Anjos, went to 7 or 6, and that's in the UFC. So to me, that's the world. And at the time, I was an amateur. When I returned back to England, I turned pro. But I went toe-to-toe with a number 6 or 7 ranked in the world. And the confidence that gives you is ridiculous. And that will stay with you. That will stay with you. So I think going to new gyms will, main thing, as well as it gets you different rounds, it gets you ready for different people, different fighters, but the confidence it gives you when you spar high level and you good against them. You have a good round against them. You picked up little things, but not only that, you'll learn so much from them. I learned so much from sparring with him, even though we had good rounds, he gave it to me, I gave it to him. I learned a lot, very much so, and that helped me for future spars. And as well as that, it's going to let you meet new connections. Might not be one for you, but networking. You can network with other fighters, other coaches. This photo here, this is Thailand. You can see there, Eric Uresk in the blue, like I mentioned earlier. He then sorted me out in America. And if I didn't go to that certain gym, I would not have the connection to go to America. So I probably would have never ever gone. So I never would have trained with Dominic Cruz. I never would have cornered in the UFC. I never would have met the people I met there. And that's all through connections. So you're going to meet different people, and they are going to put you on, and they're going to give you opportunities for the future. That's just networking. Now the cons. What's the bad thing about traveling around? Now this is probably one of the worst things, and you've got to be ready for a fight every single round. And I mean a fight. I came for my first round at Phuket top team. I remember it. I went against, or sparred against for this round, some Russian. And I just went in like normal, come from my Thai. I would probably do my Thai stance and all that. And I just thought it was going to be a normal spar. I thought wrong. I thought very much wrong. And what happened is he spin kicked me to my leather, and yes, it hurt, and it hurt a lot. I went down like so. He's there, don't stop. Boom, 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 smashing my head in. And I'm thinking, rah fam, this one's a fight, yeah? A fight? And then I'm like, fuck, I've got to pick this energy up here. Later down the round, got him down, got a choke, didn't even have it under, just tried to snap his jaw off. Full on snap it off, he tapped. But then after that round, that was my first round in an MMA gym going abroad. Because you don't know the fighter, you got to be ready, just in case. So from that round onwards, I don't want to fight every round, but you got to be ready for a fight every round. And I mean ready, because if you're not ready, whoa, it could be night-night for you. You never know who you're going to spar against. And as my mother says, there is nutters everywhere, and that counts in the training room as well when you're sparring. So you just got to be careful, and because of that, you're sparring harder, you don't know who you're training against sometimes, you're more prone to injuries. That's a bad thing about it. So you just got to be careful when you come abroad who you're sparring if you are a little bit injured. Now, this depends if you've got a connection or not, but there is a potential of less coaching points because it's not your gym. You might not know people there. The coach is probably not going to come speak to you as much. I made a connection. So my first week, because I was so young, I stood out quite a lot. And because my ability was there, I stood out. I'll be totally honest. But my coaching points from, I'd say, week 8 to week 1 were a lot different. I'd get a lot more coaching points and help on week 8 than week 1, just because I earned my stripes. Sometimes you've got to earn your stripes if you're going to be there a while. But if you're only there for a one-off and your coach don't come with you, you're most likely going to get less coaching. It's just going to be there for the rounds. And one thing is it costs money. If you want to travel, even to a gym in your own country, you got to drive there. You got to pay for the session. Abroad, you got to pay for your flights. It's a lot more money to go abroad. In the same country, it takes time as well. So do you have the time? So all depends, but it is priorities of if you want to sacrifice that to the benefits you can get from it. Now, one thing I hate the most, and this is especially in Thailand, not really in America, I'll be honest, but Thailand, where everyone's coming and going, your team changes, and it changes a lot. 1 week, you might have a team. 1 week, you might not. But when I was there at Phuket Top Team, we had a set team. There was probably about 10 of us that was always there, always. But sparring partners, here and go, they change. And it's good at the start, but when you're living there, sometimes it can get a bit annoying that they're always changing. You don't know what this one's going to be like. You don't know if you're going to get a good round out of this one. So it depends which way you look at it. But to me, I'll be honest, after being there about 5 months, 4 months, it was starting to get a bit annoying that my teammates were changing. Especially they're there for a 2-month camp, and after that 2-month camp, they go home for a bit. And I'm thinking, oh, my teammates are gone. So that's the bad thing about living in a touristy gym or being away for a while. But my personal opinion, overall, I would highly, highly recommend it. That is where I got my confidence as a fighter, that is where I grew as a fighter, and that is where most importantly, I became from a boy to a man. Because those connections you make in the gym, they stay. And they stay out of that training room into social situations as well. So if you can afford it, do it. And if you can't afford it, make some money so you can afford it. That's my personal opinion on it. Not everyone will agree, but that is how I did it, and I don't regret it at all. It was amazing. Here, we've got Adam Amersinger in this photo, Eric, we've got myself, and we have Steve. I met them all through coming to a different gym. But that is today's video. I will see you in the next one. Bish, bash, bosh, pow!